Good afternoon, everybody. We're here today to go through a build that I made on my Twitch stream. My Twitch link will be in the description, so please go check it out and give me a follow if you want. We are playing mostly building games, strategy games, that kind of thing. Um, we stream Timberborn on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. So if you like Timberborn and if you like to see me play, come check it out. Check out the description of this YouTube video and come join us. I wanted to make something different for my YouTube channel, and I decided to make this video. We're going to be going through the different stages of the build that we did. We have all the save games. We made this build on stream in about 25 episodes of about 3.5 hours each, so you can imagine how long this build took to make. The idea of this build came to me, or us basically, as the community, while we were doing the previous build, and we were playing around with the large metal platforms of the Iron Teeth, and we decided we wanted to cover water wheels. Back then, the Iron Teeth and the Folktales had still the same water wheel, so there was no difference yet. We didn't have the large water wheel yet. During our playthrough of what I'm going to show you, this changed, and that changed our plans a little bit throughout the build. But yeah, what I'm going to be doing is showing the different stages of the build and tell you about how we went about it and what we accomplished, and that we had to wait a lot of times for all the metal blocks that we needed for all the metal platforms that we were building. The map that we are using is 1,000 Islands. Might look familiar to frequent Timberborn players. It is a very nice map. We have a large water source over here, which splits out in two ways and fills out both sides. Starting location is over here. As you can see, this save was done in the middle of a drought, and if I recall correctly, the drought before this one, we almost died. We lost a lot of beavers, and yeah, that was not so great. We were playing on normal, but we just weren't paying attention. We were more focused on what we wanted to do than keeping the beavers alive. So yeah, that was kind of a bad situation, but we came out of it okay. So we in this is as you can see, it is cycle 8 already. We had expanded here with another district, and we put down the initial setup of where we wanted to go with our build. So as you can see, we put down levees to lay out what we wanted to do. These gaps over here were for the large metal platforms. We hadn't unlocked it yet, but we just counted the blocks. Yeah, this was the initial part of the build where we had started. We needed this power to and this metal to start making the first metal blocks, because we needed a lot of metal blocks for our large metal platforms, but we also required the metal for our explosive factories, because we needed to blow all of this up, because this is only half of our build, because we wanted to mirror this on the other side. So we needed to blow up a lot of things. Yeah, so this was the initial part of the map. This is just a little bit further into the game, we have our initial setup over here. We have an explosive factory. We also expanded the layout. We already started on this side with our levees. We put down the initial explosives, and we decided that this was going to be a canal that was going, and that we were going to claim the water to go in here, go through, and yeah, over here we had no idea yet what we were going to do with it next, but we knew that we wanted it to go here and make these water wheels inside our city spin. Yeah, we had a lot of wood, we had good production now, we were doing alright at this point. This is a little bit further into the game. We had started a district over on this side, and we started making our canal down to the area where we wanted to make our city. We have also started at this point in time at building outposts to wall off the entire map. So that is on this side. We were claiming the outside walls over here. We were starting, and we were also working on this side. We had an outpost over here, and yeah, we were slowly progressing towards the state where we could start filling this area. But yeah, before we could do that, all this needed to be lowered because we had a good plan of what we wanted to do. We had unlocked the large metal platform by now, and they have to be put down on solid ground. They cannot be built on top of other buildings. So we decided that we wanted to cover the whole entire area with platforms. However, we were running into a problem with the mine, because you cannot cover the mine completely, because if you place them on both sides, you'll have a gap of 1, and it would basically get in the way of what we wanted to do and cover it all. So what we decided to do is leave the top area of the mine uncovered and mirror that on this side. We decided that at this point because we were planning out what we were going to do over here. Yeah, it was all starting to work out. We were doing our best. We were making explosives. We added a second explosive factory, a couple of paper mills, so that we could produce quite a bit of explosives, because explosives are very cheap in this game, because you only need a proper wood production, and then you basically have an endless supply of dynamite, because one piece of dynamite can be made with 3 sheets of paper. So, you know, that is easy. I guess we should try that in real life. At this point, you can see that we got a lot further already. This outside wall is completely finished all the way here, and we had started this wall as well. We decided that we wanted to continue the canal throughout this whole area and off the map here, so that the water would still flow off the map. And we had added some floodgates over on here, so that we could control the water level in this area, because eventually we wanted to flood this all the way to this level. And for now we still needed all of this land to do our production. We had multiple explosive factories here. As you can see, we got the new water wheels for the Iron Teeth. We added a couple of small ones, and we have the original ones still connected to it, because they changed that in the middle of our playthrough. And over here we started with our water wheel connection, and this is how we decided to start it. And as you can see, we were able to reach this area from all the way up here. So this is nicely filled in already, and the water is able to cut through these floodgates and spin those water wheels. So this gave us a good idea of what we wanted to make um, in this city, how it was gonna look eventually. We also were thinking about this side of the map. This also needed to be closed off because we wanted the outside walls of the city to be completely submerged in water. So that would be our next phase as well. This is another couple of cycles further. We're at cycle 36 at this point. Yeah, the walls are done. This canal is done on both sides. We have started our initial district center on the bottom of where the city is going to be, and we were still blowing up the sides because we needed that, but we were starting to work on the power again because this initial thing was finished. As you can see, we have our first 2 metal platforms up, and we have smelters here as well because we have a lot of ruins here that we could use to produce metal blocks, and we need a lot of metal blocks. These were the first 2 metal platforms to be put down. They require 500 metal blocks each. 500. So in this area, we were gonna have a lot of metal platforms in the end, which you will see eventually. We had 96 metal platforms built. Well, 96 times 500 is 48,000 metal blocks that we required for this build. Alone for the metal platforms, so that doesn't include all the other buildings that require metal, which, like, some of them still require a lot of metal as well, like the tributes to ingenuity. They require quite a bit as well. If I'm not mistaken, they require 300 as well, and we built 4 of those as well eventually. So yeah, a lot of metal blocks were needed. We had a couple of metal block productions over here as well, because that was the important part for this build, getting the metal blocks going so that we could pop out these large metal platforms. We are at cycle 44 here, and as you can see, we progressed a little bit on this side as well. We are building walls around this side all the way. We had floodgates set up here so that we could get excess water off the map. We were building this. We had an outpost over here to start getting to all these little corners, and eventually we still needed to close this off as well. The canal, we added temporary water wheels here to produce some metal blocks over on this side as well, because we were producing metal everywhere. We were getting metal from here, getting metal from here. As you can see, we got a lot done from there. Over here, you can also tell that we expanded our production facilities over on top, and that we have a lot of water wheels set down over here to get to the outside, and that would produce power for us. We had lowered this whole entire side. We got started on metal platforms over on all of these sides. We decided to place down fences at the spots where our metal platforms should be built. We made staircases to go up and down, and On this side, we also got down to the very lowest level, and we have our mine still available there. It started to look like a city, or at least a walled-off place where we could build a city, and yeah, we got to the point where we really needed to up our metal production. Here we are at cycle 49. Not much changed on this side. That is just still producing whatever we needed for helping out on this end. But as you can see here, we started designing our city, and we had our first platforms over here done. This was still getting extended to let our production grow, and we were building our houses here. We added a engine over here so that during droughts we still had a little bit of power. It didn't do much, but it helped a little bit here and there. It wouldn't completely come to a halt, at least. As you can see, we had started our wood production over here, farms, more farms for the food, and more wood over on this side. And we were just slowly but surely getting our platforms in place. All the gaps you can see in the forest for our metal platforms. Over on this side, we had totally covered this end. We were now having an outpost all the way in this corner to finish the last bits over here and here, and over here. And once that was done, we could close the floodgates in this corner so that we would have all of this area filled up with water, and this side would be totally submerged. So that was going to be the next part. At cycle 56, the builds over here still didn't change much, but over here you could see our progress. Look at that. We have metal platforms all the way to the corners on each side. We're expanding this way. We have our final two mirrored district centers. These district centers each would take care of half of the city. The left one for this one and the right one with this one. And as you can see, all the paths, they have district gates sort of in the center wherever possible, depending on where the door is for the building. And we made these little hop overs so that the power would connect through with the power shafts. Slowly building more and more metal platforms. We had these district centers built on top of a stack of log piles. That's the good thing about the Iron Teeth, is that the log piles are have a roof, and you can build on top of those. So it was a perfect spot to make stairs go around so that we could get to the bottom quickly from the district center. So we had the largest reach, even though we couldn't reach all the corners. We could reach most. Same for this side, of course. And we finally got our first mine set up over here. However, originally we had the mine built with the path over here, but when we placed this down, we saw that we couldn't reach. So what we had to do is delete it and turn it around and build it again. As you can see, we had closed this off all the way, and we had closed off the floodgates partially. Not all the way yet, because we were still using this island. And we kind of wanted to keep using that for a little while longer until all the scrap metal was collected from here. Because as you can tell, as I said earlier, we needed a lot of metal. We were also in the meantime blowing things up over here. We just kept blowing things up as we saw fit. Now, here we made some progress on this side as well. We decided to remove everything and flood this whole area because we made another town over here because there is a mine over here and we got rid of all the metal anyways, the scrap metal. We collected all of that and used it all up, but we needed more and we needed this mine, so we made an outpost over here. And yes, the mining county, that was our thing over here. We had a little bit of power production, which we could automatically process all the scrap metal into metal blocks and send the metal blocks back to this area. As you can see, we progressed there as well. We tried to mirror the sides as good as we could. Drop-off points on both ends. Well, this one is still being built at this point in time, but we had it figured out. We have the distribution posts on either side, and that way they could quickly deliver cross side to each other. We continued with our city blocks, whatever you call it, the living quarters, and on top of the living quarters we have our production facilities as well, bakeries, grills, and the good thing is that because our power connection is coming through to on both of these sides from here and here, we have our shafts connecting to the houses. That means that every building in the city, because everything is connected, has power. So we could build our industrial machines everywhere and they would have power. As you can see, we also rotated our mine at this point. We are at cycle 65. So yeah, we were getting somewhere, but as you can see, the metal platform building is still very, very slow. It's a lot of metal that you need for a build like this, and yeah, that was a bit of an issue at this point. We were not producing enough metal blocks to build these platforms quickly. At this point in time, we noticed that we were not producing enough wood, and so we set out a forester over here to produce more logs for us. However, that was not going to be a long-term solution, because we wanted it to be inside of the city, and these two spots over here and here were not enough to make our wood production available. So we set out to make some wings outside of our city, and they were going to be this big, but that also meant that we were going to need 16 additional large metal platforms on each side, which we were already not making a lot of progress with those. So but we needed the room, and we wanted to cover it because we didn't want to leave it open. And we decided that once we cover it, this is going to be where our carousels are going to be, our entertainment, our mud baths. So we would get two entertainment wings on the outside of the city, and that was going to be our next goal, or at least the eventual goal. The next goal was going to be having our log production not having to be on the outside of the city, but inside of these little wings, so we would get a lot more wood inside of these two districts. This is a little bit further. As you can see, we have the first wing on this side completed. Um, we are growing a forest. Over here, we're almost ready. We're just waiting for the water to disappear. We added the mechanical pump to help and pump the water out much quicker. And as you can see, we got to the corners with our builds over on both sides, and we decided to put attributes of ingenuity on all the corners. And these are the first corners to be completed, and we try to keep everything as symmetrical as possible, even though it is sometimes difficult with the doors being either on one end of a building or on the other. So if you flip them around, the door will be on the other side. So there are some difficulties with that. To keep it completely symmetrical is impossible, but we did well, I think. As you can see, we added some mud pads on top of these areas, and because everything is powered, it automatically draws power from our water wheels that are still all the way under this thing. As you can see, we have the water wheels under here, under the metal platforms. It looks really good. And as you can see, on the sides over here, we have benches. They can walk all the way under it, and they have stairs going back up, and they come out of this area over here. And yeah, they can walk wherever they want. Of course, we have these bridges connecting these sides. However, they will never use those because they don't belong to a single district. They actually don't belong to any district, and they don't move from that side to that side unless they deliver the goods from here to there or from there to there. As you can see, we finished off all the scrap metal from this island. We are working our way over to this side, and we are removing all the scrap metal with these scavenger flags. And we want to claim this mine so we can get more scrap metal from that. Our mining country district is doing well. We have metal production. We have upped our production on this side as well. We're making some food over here. We have water on all sides because we closed up the whole map. And yeah, it's looking good. This is producing metal for more metal platforms, and we're slowly expanding all the way this side first. As you can see, we have added a little thing over here. We were gonna make a bridge connecting this side to that side. Yeah, and we're just mirroring everything that we're doing on one side, we're doing on the other side. This side is going a little bit quicker because it gets a little bit more metal in, etc. But we're doing well. It's starting to look like a little city. Over here we have progressed a little bit with the metal platforms. We are currently at cycle 85. As you can see, we left a gap over here because we had to leave a gap over here due to the mine, and we wanted to mirror it, so we decided to make something nice out of it. And that was gonna be it. We're gonna use this so you could peep down below into the gap under all the metal platforms. As you can see, you can start seeing all the pillars of the metal platforms hovering over our forest areas over there and there. It just looks good. It looks like a cathedral of some sorts. Yeah, it's looking good. Over here we have this mine in use now as well. So we have currently 3 working mines. That is definitely needed because all the scrap metal of the map has been used already, and we still need a lot more metal. So in order to produce the most scrap metal from a mine, you have to set a recipe to the scrap metal efficient recipe, and that requires explosives, gears, and fancy planks, or treated planks as the game will call it, but we'll call it fancy planks. So yeah, we had to do that for all of them, so we needed all of them to produce explosives as well. So this has a paper mill and an explosive factory, so it can produce the explosives for the mine. Over here, of course, we have explosives for this mine, and this district on the right side is delivering explosives for this mine. So all of them are using the efficient recipe. So we produce the most scrap metal. To get from this side, the scrap metal is delivered back to this district. From this side, the scrap metal is immediately produced into metal blocks, and the metal blocks are moved into this district. As you can see, the whole middle part is done with the metal platforms. We couldn't make them over on this side or this side because this side has had a little lower area that we couldn't use because, well, the metal platform would be one lower than everything else, and we didn't want that. Now, we still needed quite a lot to be done, but we were slowly expanding on both sides with the housing. So we have a lot of housing. We have beds for 1,400 beavers already at this moment in time, and we are far from done. We only have about 400 beavers. So yeah, we had a lot of room. They could sleep in a different house every night if they wanted. Just a little further into the game, at this point, we had added carousels on these insides. We connected them immediately into the whole building area, so that meant that we could never remove them again, and that would be a little bit of a bummer in the end, because we kind of would have wanted that. Over here you can see that we added a lot more metal production facilities because we needed more and more metal blocks because we wanted to complete this. You see we are creeping close to the corners. However, we also have this side and this side to be done. We came to a problem though when we added these carousels, that we are running out of power with what is being produced with the water wheels under the city. That was not enough, so what we decided to do is make some water wheels over here as well, and get them to produce power. And we had our whole power shaft running under the water all the way back to the city and connecting it up to this building, and that meant that it would get to all other buildings as well. Yeah, and we decided that we wanted to add some lidos over on this end, but they need to be in the water, so we had to remove part of the blocks over here. But we'll come back to that at some point because we are going to refactor that. Alright, at this point we came to the conclusion that we wanted to hang them on the outside like this instead of having the ugly bit missing. So we did that. We put that on both sides, and yeah, we were blowing this side up so that it would be have the same depth over on both sides, and we could also hang all these lidos on this side. As you can see, we gone pretty far with the metal platforms, and we have 4 carousels now, 2 on each side. Yeah, we're building out. We got all of this thing connected. We have another carousel on top of each side. It's looking good. We're getting close to the end, right? Are we? So not really. We decided to raise the level all the way over to here, and we decided to erase everything. We wanted to raise the water level one more up so that it would be sitting right on the edge of our town. But that meant that we needed to raise the canal over on this side and to raise everything, um, basically we would have to go around the whole map one more time to add more levees everywhere. As you can see, we did the canal already, but that would also mean that we would have to take out these floodgates, which would mean that the water would spill out way quicker. That would mean that this area would empty out quite a bit. And with that, this would empty, and we would have an issue with our water supply for this town. We have water collection units over here, or one at least, and one over here, but that would not be enough, but we noticed that too late. As you can see, the water wheels over here, nicely done. They're looking good. They're producing quite a bit of power. We have still a little bit more demand than we are getting supplied. However, that is probably because the drought has just ended and the power wheels are just starting up. As you can see, we're also very close with finishing off all the metal platforms inside of the city. And there you have it. We have done all the platforms inside the city, all of them that we can do. We wanted to keep it even, so we're not adding a metal platform here because we cannot add one over there. It was a nice moment that this was done. We were building up the sides over here and here, keeping everything mirrored. As you can see, we also added a district center over here and one over here. We had increased the water level, or not the level of the floodgates, not the water level yet, because we couldn't, because as soon as we close it off, that means this would flood to a point where we could no longer use this district. So we still required it, we still needed it to make more metal for us. Over here you can see we also added a district so we could reach this corner. We were about to raise these one level. As you can tell, we were first making our build around it so we could take them out and easily place them back in. Yeah, so we were done with the initial phase of the metal platforms. We still needed to finish the housing build. As you can see with all the icons, all our warehouses are basically full. All our log piles are basically full. There are a couple of unconnected buildings, as you can see, because the pathing was not done yet. But in the end, most of them were connected just fine. Alright, we have moved on. As you can tell, the water level is raised one more level over on this side, which looks good. We've also started making metal platforms inside our forest areas so that we can start our entertainment district. We raised our lighthouse over on this side. We have a large bridge connecting one end to the other. Again, it will not be used by our beavers because it's separate districts, so they won't be using that nice looking bridge, but it is aesthetically pleasing. Over here we started our entertainment district. We added the observatories because they just look cool on the corners like that. We added the walling or the fencing around it just to make it look nice. This side not been raised yet because we still need the metal from here to make all the last of our metal platforms. As you can see, we were also blowing this thing up because that was sticking out like a sore thumb, and we wanted to lower that a little bit. The city, almost complete. As you can tell, we've already added 3 out of 4 of our tributes, and yeah, it's starting to look cool. As you can see, we have another district center on here. The reason why we added that is at some point during our build, we were getting a influx of beavers because we placed too many pods, and um, it's because of the symmetry. When we place one, we had to place two because we had to keep it symmetrical. Um, so at that point, at one point, we could not produce enough food anymore for keeping all those extra beavers alive, the backup beavers as we call them. As they are unemployed, we call them backup beavers, but we had too many of them. So we made this district center over here, and we called it the garbage bin. And basically what we did is we sent the excess beavers over to garbage bin district, and it would stand around here, and the water would be so close by, but they would all die of thirst. It's just what we had to do at that point in time. But yeah, we kept that around for a little while because we had to balance out our population. Over here you can see we progressed a little bit further. You can see what we're trying to do over here. We had rooftop terraces on lots of places, a couple of mud baths in the center, and we were waiting for the final metal platforms to be installed over on this side, so that we could mirror this as well over here, where we would have more carousels. Over here you can see we were also progressing just a little bit slower than on the other side, but we were getting there. We had our final tribute up, and that meant all four corners would have our tributes. We still were lacking a little bit power, so we built a couple more over on the front of this, and we were building the last up here as well, so we could support all the carousels that we were making and all the mud baths, and we would have enough power. Still, this side not flooded because we were still waiting for the final metal platforms to be built. Now we're reaching the end of our playthrough, and as you can tell, we have this entertainment district completely done. It looks good. We have 4 carousels, we have 8 mud baths, we have 6 rooftop terraces, we have 2 observatories for no reason other than that it looks good, and we have finished all this power. We are not making enough. I think if we unpause it we would be making enough, but yeah, it's probably again because the drought is just starting, and then it slows down already in the center, and this dries up, and our power slows down, but everything is looking good. The this side still needs 4 more metal platforms, but that should be done fairly soon. We creep into a close here and having our build finished. And here it is, the final build. We have flooded this side of the map as well. This whole district gone, all flooded. District removed. We don't need it anymore. We have our 2 entertainment districts finished. It is just looking really good, doesn't it? Here you can see it. Our final build. We have a lot of water pumps, but we kind of needed it to support our population. We now have only 2 districts left. We removed the garbage bin district, and it is all looking good. If you zoom in under it and you look at this, it looks like you're inside a cathedral, and you can see the water wheels under our city, and we have beavers running everywhere. On this side they can go up and over, they can come to this side, we see the same thing. Over here you can see this leads to the forest area, and yeah, it just looks cool to be under the city like that. And then on top we have the middle our industrial area, and then on top here we have our food production, like bakeries and grills and whatnot. And yeah, it looks really nice. I'm really proud of this build. It is nice to have done this on stream. It was a playthrough of 25 like episodes, over how many weeks I don't know. We streamed at the beginning. We streamed 5 days a week Timberborn, but we changed that up to eventually just being 2 or 3 days of Timberborn during those times. I'm really enjoying the game. It's a really fun game. Where we're currently working on our next big build, and in which we are we took the mountain range map, which has a lot of mountains, as the name would suggest, and we decided to level it all the way down to the bottom of the map. So we require tons and tons of explosives, and then we'll start with another mega build inside of that leveled area. Come check it out on Twitch. Link is in the description. Anyway, this is it. We had a really fun time with this playthrough, and I'm really proud of the result. And everybody that has seen this build so far has been really impressed. I hope you are as well, and I hope you enjoyed this little walkthrough of from the start to the end and see the progress. Thank you for watching, and if you like this video, make sure you like it. If you want to see more content, please hit the subscribe button and follow me on Twitch. Thank you.